In this video, I'm going to walk you through some strategies to help autistic students overcome executive dysfunction. Now, if you're not familiar with what executive function skills are, these are the skills that help us identify, plan for, and reach our goals. Many autistic students struggle with executive function skills like flexible thinking, emotional regulation, and completion of activities of daily living. There's a good amount of research that shows that executive function skills can improve the quality and length of lives for people with autism. Check out this research over here that says that activities of daily living, or ADL, skills are malleable and dynamic, and setting high expectations for maintaining such skills during the life course may have implications for health, maintenance, and even survival. And that comes from a study done in 2020 called Mortality in Individuals with Autism Spectrum Disorder, Predictors over a 20-year period. First though, what is autism? Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD for short, is a developmental condition that affects the following: communication, behavior, and social interaction, with symptoms ranging from mild to severe. The American Psychiatric Association classifies autism spectrum disorder into 3 categories: level 1, 2, and 3, depending on the severity and impact to daily living activities. Now, here's a key thing to note about these categories. Even though an individual may be classified into level 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't predict what the future will hold for them because executive function skills are malleable and can be developed throughout the lifespan. Now, before we jump into what we can do to support autistic individuals with overcoming executive dysfunction, I wanted to show you a little bit of data on autism. So first, about 1 in 36 children have been identified with autism spectrum disorder, according to the CDC's Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network. So about close to 3% of students. It's also 4% more common among boys than girls. And it is found in all racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups. Now, I also want to share with you that in special education programs, the percent of students with disabilities identified with autism increased from 4.97%, or almost 5%, in the school year of 2008-2009 to almost 11% in the school year of 2018 to 2019. So that's just a diagram of how the percent of students with autism is trending upward. A couple other key facts about autism as it relates to education is that students with autism ages 14 through 21 exiting school were less likely to drop out, but more likely to receive a certificate than all students with disabilities compared to receiving a diploma. And students identified with autism were less likely to be served inside the regular class 80% or more of the day than all other students with disabilities. Now, the reason executive function skills matter so much to students with autism is because of activities of daily living. For example, over here, research found that even after controlling for age and health status, we found that limited self-sufficiency and activities of daily living was an important predictor of mortality for adults with ASD. So in a nutshell, what this tells you is that autistic students need to learn executive function skills that help them manage their daily living activities so they can increase their lifespan and quality of life. There's also some other concerning data I'd like to share with you from a recent study. For youth with ASD, 34.7% had attended college and 55.1% had held paid employment during the first 6 years after high school. And it goes on to share that youth with ASD had the lowest rates of participation in employment and the highest rates of no participation compared with youth in other disability categories. This research screams to me that we need to develop more systems and supports to help students with autism develop executive function skills so they can have more success in those activities of daily living. Now, here are the big things that autistic students struggle with in school. 1, rigid thinking. With rigid thinking, it makes it difficult for them to adapt or adjust to new expectations and settings. This might look like discomfort in loud classrooms where students call out or teachers wing it. And as adults, this rigidity can pose problems in areas where flexibility is required, such as managing challenging customers or clients, negotiating financial agreements, having lighthearted conversations meant to build rapport. Second is the emotional regulation challenges accompanying autism spectrum disorder. Overwhelm in school can lead to emotional dysregulation, causing autistic students to shut down and disengage. And unless educators are trained on how to respond to the emotional dysregulation of autistic students, this can lead to disengagement, isolation, and removal from the general ed curriculum for students with autism. Lastly, one of the biggest struggles for autistic students is limited social skills. Over here, we can see that research attests that students with ASD often experience elevated rates of social exclusion and bullying, low levels of peer support, and may perceive the sensory school environment as overwhelming. So because of these factors and the outcomes we already identified, it's very critical that autistic students receive the right support, which starts with training teachers and educators on how to do that. So here are how educators and parents can help autistic students develop executive function skills. Start by creating opportunities for flexible thinking. One thing an educator can do is build game time routines into your classroom. Game time is an excellent opportunity for autistic students to develop social skills because there are rules and expectations, but at the same time, the flexibility and creativity required for games creates opportunities for them. Now, if you're a special educator or administrator and want to incorporate this into your classroom or school plan, check out my guide in the article, 5 Steps to Run an Effective Study Skills Class for SPED Students. This will help you think of ways you can incorporate game time into your classroom routines. Another key strategy is giving the students the what, but not the how. For example, you might assign students a project to do a 3-minute presentation on someone who inspires them. Now, you can lay out the key benchmarks for the project, such as share the figure with the teacher for approval, create an outline of the presentation, do draft 1, but allow the student to choose the format. Maybe the student is good at coding and wants to build a small website, or maybe they enjoy making YouTube videos. By giving them the what but not the how, you give them an opportunity to use their creativity and flexible thinking to find a solution to the problem you've presented. Of course, make sure to use a system of least prompts throughout the process to make sure they have the support they needed if they ever feel stuck. Another key strategy is to value emotional regulation as much as you do taking a test. Autistic students will find it valuable to know that emotional regulation is often valued as much in the workplace as a high IQ or test-taking abilities. But many students do not know that emotional intelligence is a skill they can develop through deliberate practice. For example, a survey of 2,662 hiring managers found that emotional intelligence is a key factor in hiring decisions. They found that 59% of employers would not hire someone who has a high IQ but low emotional intelligence. They also found that for workers being considered for a promotion, the high emotional intelligence candidate will beat out the high IQ candidate in most cases. 75% said they'd more likely promote the high emotional intelligence worker. In your class, you can start to foster emotional intelligence by doing class-wide check-ins. This could look like doing a brain dump in a journal, ranking their mood on a scale, choosing an emoji to represent their current feelings or state of mind. Then, when emotional regulation does occur, use it as an opportunity to practice the skills of becoming regulated rather than a setback. If you're interested, I also have a guide on how to build an alter ego, which will help students identify a character or a person that represents the skills they want to inhabit and practice using those skills through a process of what's known as self-distancing. Lastly, teach your students the power of systems. Introduce them to the student dashboard, which helps them identify all their upcoming and missing assignments, plan out their semester, email their teachers easily, and track their key passwords and logins. Now, if you want a guide to this, in the article link below, check out the guide, How to Have the Best Semester Yet, Create a Student Dashboard, which will give you my free template for this. Now, teaching your students systems can help them plan for things like preparing for college, organizing their course schedule, setting up a budget, creating a password organizer, having their teachers' emails on a spreadsheet, and more. Through these systems you develop, help them identify a long-term goal or aspiration they have, and then break it into smaller steps. This process encourages strategic thinking and planning, which are key executive function skills. So in summary, working on executive function skills improves the process of helping them prepare for those activities of daily living, which we know, based on the research, helps increase lifespan and quality of life for autistic individuals. Parents and educators, you have the ability to help. And if you're ready to take action, try implementing these steps. Number 1, create game time in the home or classroom to encourage flexible thinking and creativity. 2, challenge students by identifying the what but not the how for completing tasks. 3, explicitly teach emotional regulation skills and their benefits to your students. 4, teach a systems-based approach for managing goals and long-term visions, as well as short-term projects. I hope this helps. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.